let's do a little camera controller, like a Souls-like camera controller, because we got Soul. So, completely empty scene, add a plane, add a player. I'm just going to use a capsule because I don't have a whole lot of models or anything in this project to use. So that is our player. This is a third person. Get rid of the fucking capsule. Alright. Now, we should add some light. Bloop. Oh my god, that is blinding. Well. Let's add... Let's just alter this. We're not looking at blinding white. Alright, so the player can have that one, and the ground can have that one. Let's just make the ground like a... something like that. Doesn't need no highlights. Alright, and let's put the player... I don't know, let's make the player like blue or something. Make him really shiny. Yeah, we won't. Alright, and I'm also going to add, just this will help with knowing the direction of the player. Right, so I'm going to go 1 there, half there, half 0.75 there. We'll go up 0.5 and out 0.25. Cut this down a little farther. There we go. So now we have some shades. You know what? Because they're shades, we're going to make them black. And they got to have some shine to them. That's, you know, much cooler looking. And then this is just because I'm crazy. Just so the lighting's not all messy and messed up. Alright. There we go. So now we also have walls. Let's put some walls. And the walls, let's make those something closer to that, maybe. Alright, now let's make the walls like tall. And like that, like that. We're just going to stick a few walls around. We don't need a whole lot of those. That's probably good. And then the other thing we'll need is we're also going to need a enemy. So these walls, we're actually going to put all the walls on a layer. I'm going to say walls. And let's make another object. We'll just do a sphere. And that can be the enemy. And the enemy can be red. Alright, and we're going to give those a layer. I'll have to add a layer. Enemy. Alright, so let's just stick a few of those around. like that. So they're just around. Alright, cool. So we need a camera. So I'm going to add a camera. Boop. There's a main camera. So, very simply, we're going to add two FSMs. One's going to be called move. One's going to be called rotate. So in the move, we are very simply going to get axis vector. Unless you're using the new input, then you would just use the input. I don't know what else to tell you. And I want the camera. That always could be a variable. We'll say direction input. Let's go like a speed of like 4. And then I want a simple move. I often do the normal moves versus the simple moves, but Souls-like games typically aren't going to have like a whole lot of, I don't know, like jumping and platforming per se. You know, dive rolling and stuff like that, sure, but so a simple move system should be just fine. Actually, I guess this will be 4 and this will be 1. World space. Cool. So if I hit play, we should now have movement. Yes, we have movement. Nothing else happens. I can't walk through walls. I can't turn. And we have a camera sitting here. It's doing absolutely nothing. It's just sitting there. So let's make it not sit there. So I brought in from the package manager a camera system that is just the king of camera systems. So I am going to bring in, actually I'm going to bring in 2 cameras. I want a free look and I want just a virtual camera. So this one's going to be our walk on cam, and this one can be our normal cam. So I'm going to start with this one deactivated, so we're only using this one. I'm not going to put in some crazy blend thing or nothing like that. We're just going to swap. Well, actually, while I'm on it, where's okay? So our normal camera, once you add a camera, it adds this component automatically, and you have this ease in, ease out 2 seconds. Let me show you what this actually does, because we're going to change it, and there's no point in you just changing it randomly because I changed it. So let's see what it does so that you know why we're changing it. So it's on 2 seconds, right? So if I turn this camera on, see how it goes over there? Back and forth. And if I go to the camera and I bring this down to say like 0.5 seconds, and I try that again, much snappier, right? So that's all that does. The beauty part with working with this system is you can do a lot of your edits in play mode as well, and it maintains them. Kind of fancy. Okay, so we have these 2 cameras. So the normal cam is we're going to follow the player, and we can look at the player. Pretty simple. And let's adjust these rigs. Radius of the bottom rig, let's take it out like, yeah, 5. Middle rig, let's take this one out like 8. Top rig, let's take this one out like 7. Cool. There we go. Now the X we don't want inverted. The Y we do want inverted. I don't know why it's like that. We'll probably have to adjust the speed. 2 is pretty slow. I'm going to take it up to 15. And let's just see how that feels. I can't go all the way up. My bottom is too narrow. Alright, so we're not narrow enough. Let's go down to 4, take this one down to, or up to 6. Alright, let's move this up a bit. No, that's getting too close. We don't want that. So if we are there, we're at the bottom. I don't necessarily want that any narrower. Let's take this down 0.1. Oh, you know what we should also do? Well, actually, you should probably do this anyways. Is we're looking at the position, right? Well, I suppose we could just do this, right? Yeah, that's not going to work very well. All right, let's go back down. Let's go 2.55. Let's come out of play mode. Let's add. This is our player. Let's rename him player. Let's also give him the tag player. He'll need that later. Let's add a camera follow. And now this guy can follow and look at the camera. Follow object. So the camera system now can actually elevate up a bit. Normal cam. Oh, don't look at the normal cam, look at the camera system. Alright, that should be, I don't know, I still don't like that. I want to look up a little higher. Alright, that, I guess that'll do. Is that good? Is that too high? No, I think that's good. Oh, yeah, let's go with that. So now the lock-on camera, we only want it can follow the, well, I guess it can follow the same camera system. It could also look at the camera system technically, but you know what, we're not going to set that at all. We're just going to leave that blank. I mean, you could set it. I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter. But we're going to bring all this stuff down. And I'm going to turn it on so we can see it. Yeah, let's look at... Oh, whoops. I didn't mean to unchild that part. That's silly of me. Alright, let's just say... somewhere around there. Now, you can actually adjust this as well, but I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to add a offset, right? Because then you don't have that tilting aiming. the aim, we want to literally do nothing. Just flat out do nothing. Just sit there. Just like that. Alright. So, now, there's numerous different ways we can do this. So the first one we're going to do is, let's look at, let's get FSM vector 3. Let's start with that. We want to go into our movement and grab our input that we have. Every frame. And we're going to get that length also every frame. And then we want to compare that length every frame. Because if that length, more or less, if there is a vector or not, if we are less, we're in an idle. Okay? And we can copy this whole state and just bring it over here. And then if we're greater, we are moving. So we can go back and forth. Now we should probably actually start in the idle state, I suppose, in comparison to this state. It really doesn't matter that much, but so what does that mean? So if we have a vector, if we're over here on this side, let's have smooth look at direction. Let's look at that guy. Let's keep him vertical and call him good. Alright, so that should have, so we move the camera around and now we can zip around, move this guy around all we want. Right, life is good. You see when we stop, because now I can just move my camera around. It ain't gonna change the angle, ain't gonna change nothing. It just sits there idle. I can just move the camera. Perfect. All right. So what is to lock on? And let's do it based on button. Let's say get key down. Right. Let's do maybe a tab, and we'll say lock on. Now off we go. So when we hit that button, what do we want to actually happen? We want to overlap. And if you have the array lists, that works. I think I got this one off the ecosystem. But I mean, in reality, you could. Actually, there should be more overlaps than that. Anyways, but so let's get an overlap. And if, like I said, if you have the array list, this one should have an overlap in it as well, which is actually would almost be a better option to use. But whatever, not a big deal. So we're going to do a sphere. How big of a sphere do we want to use? What is our lock-on range? All right, let's say 15, maybe. I mean, I guess for demonstration, 10 will do fine. So layer mask, what are we actually looking for? We're looking for enemies. That's all we're looking for. That's all we care about with the lock on. So here are the enemies. And we have bound, so let's just say continue. And then we can have a skip event. Right, so if we hit the button, nothing happens, let's just go back. Right, so we can hit the button over and over again. So, but if we do have something, we have found something, then let's say array array get, let's get something, enemies, and let's say we'll do a value called index, and that could be our target, right? And what's going to control this index? Well, we will see. Actually, you know, we should have something prior to that, I suppose. Let's set the index, or set int, I should say. Index 0. Okay, good. Now, if we are here, we need to do what? Let's just go like this. We want to make sure our normal cam is off, our lock on cam is on, and vice versa. If we are over here, we want the opposite, which we'll also stick that right here as well, just so we know it's there. Right, so now if we're in here, we can hit tab again, get key down, get key down, tab, and we'll say unlock. Alright, and if we unlock, we're just going to go back over here. Alright, so now let's see if that works. Now it's not controlling our look yet, but it should be tab. Oh, did I not put? I didn't put the button in the first one. Alright, so let's fix that up. Because we also need a lock on in this state if we're not moving, which can go there, and so those are enemies, and we did give we got to give those guys a proper layer if we're actually going to use that layer, aren't we? There we go. So we hit tab, and you can see we've kind of gone into this. All of a sudden we have this weird thing kind of happening. I can't even, like, can't look around or do anything, right? Perfect. That's what we want. Alright, so what are we going to do? We're going to smooth look at. Let's just get 2 of those in there. So we want ourselves to look at the target, keep vertical on, tolerance off, and we want our lock on cam to also look at the target, keep vertical can now go off, and tolerance can go like that. Right? So now we should have, right, so we can move around, everything's fine, we look around, and hit tab, and we lock on. And now, just by default, we're now strafing and stuff, right? If I hit tab again, you know, so now we need a way to iterate through those. So we need, I don't know what I'll use. I'll just use Q for now. It's probably not the best choice, but we're going to use it anyways. So get key down. Right, so let's use Q. And next target. all we're going to do is array length int add int wrap. Right, so we're going to say, okay, so we have our enemies. We know how many enemies we have. So let's take our index and add 1, and take our index and make sure we're going to wrap it to how many enemies we have. Right, and then we can just loop back. Just like that. So now, if I hit tab, we have locked on. If I hit tab again, or not tab, Q, sorry. Right, and all the buttons work as you would expect, like all the strafing and all that. Camera position could probably use a bit of a tweak. Right, like this thing could actually, I think, come back down. Go like that. Right, so now we're going to deal with this little thing. Alright, so we have this nice little lock on. It actually works pretty good just like that. So, now that we have that, let's add, oh, we already have an offset. Let's just add 1 to the offset. Just that alone, it's going to look a lot different. Okay, so this thing here I had down a little farther. Alright, so if we lock on now, see how it's here? Like it's got that off to the side look. I think this thing could probably go back up a bit, 0.5. And if I hit Q, cool. Now if I hit Q, these things don't join in. To get those in, we'd have to just sphere cast. Totally doable. We could just loop that way instead. Alright, so yeah, I think this guy at 0.5 is better. Alright. So one thing we're going to do with this though is let's do a camera offset. So how are we gonna, okay, so we're gonna have, let's make a new state, get FSM game object. So if we get a game object from our rotate target every frame, let's do world to screen. Or no, you know what? Let's just get position. No, we don't want to do that too, because we'd have to. Yeah, you know what? Let's just world to screen. Right. So we need to obviously get position now of this enemy. I think I spelled that wrong. That's okay. I don't mind. Right. So the enemy position. And we're going to normalize this, and we're going to get the screen X. So what that will do is now I can just float compare. Right? So let's default this on, say, the right side. So if X, if we're on the right side, we'd be at what, 0.1-ish. So if we are, we'll just go with 0. So if we're less than 0, move left. Right, let's copy this whole thing. So we're going to move left. So over here, it's going to be a little different though, because here, if we are, I guess, greater, let's go move right. This actually probably should be a negative 0.1. This one should be a 0.1. Wait, no. This would be a negative 0.1. This one's a 0.1. Or we're going to have an infinite loop cycle. Right, so we're going to move right. So, you know, what is that? Let's interpolate. And let's go over to our lock-on cam. Camera offset. Set properties. And if you don't have these actions, this is actually on the ecosystem too. So we want to set the, not the X. Let's call a new variable called offset. Every frame. And this one can be every frame. So this one's going to be from offset itself, storing into offset itself. And we're on the right side, so we want to go 1. You know, and 0.75 maybe. So this thing, we'd copy this little piece and stick it over here as well. And this is going to go to -1. Alright, so now we have these two states. So that means if we are over in this end somewhere, like if we've hit this area, let's have two events here. Let's have do offset, stop offset. Right, so we can say do offset, and over here we'll add it on as stop offset. Now let's go back into the rotate, and when we hit this state, we're kind of resetting everything back to normal. We're setting our index and all that to 0. Let's send an event to the offset to do offset. And when we're done, when we unlock things, unlock. Oh, when we do it unlock, why am I going there? That's not a good thing. Let's fix that. Let's so if we unlock, let's not do offset, let's stop offset, and then go back down into here. Alright, let's see what that looks like. Alright, so we've locked on. Let's see what we are looking at. So we are here, right? So, oh yeah, we're at point, because we're in the middle of the screen. Middle screen is 0.5, not 0. Well, anyways, we can get some data, right? So right now we're sitting at just about 0.6. So if we go too far, we're going above 0.6. So pretty much if we hit above 0.57, we'll say. If we go above 0.57, we'll go over to the other side. So on this side, well, for now, let's go this way. and this one needs to be greater than. Alright, so I'm going to take away this float compare for a second. So I don't know where it needs to be yet. Okay, so lock on. Right? So we're here, and we can zip over and go that side now, right? So now when we're over here, we're at 0.4, right? And if we push too far, once we get below 0.4, below 0.41, we want to go back. There we go. Right, so now we have, you know, zipping around, doing whatever. We do a lock on. Life is good. And we can swap sides, right? And you can adjust those. I got 0.5 second. I think that's what it was. Interpolate might be a little fast. And then from where it swaps, you might want to adjust, but automatic adjusting. So now we'll have one more little thing, because we have that. And beauty part is if we go to our camera, we can add, not that. Now you probably want that too, but so let's do ignore tag player and collide with walls. Right, and you'd probably put this on both cameras. I'm only going to put it on the one because you don't really need me to set it both. Yeah, so now if we're just running around, if I try to move the camera over, it won't clip through the walls. Like, you got a little bit of clipping there, and that's you know, you could up the radius a little bit. Yeah, so or you can adjust settings or whatever the case is, right? But there's easy camera collision thingamabobber, right? Oh, whoa, that was a little rough. Said those things could probably use a little bit of a tweak. But overall, pretty good. I think that's really all this kind of needs for now. Anyways, I mean, it's a lot of adjustments there to play with. So it's more of a Souls-like style camera system. Like, it's not really meant for shooters, right? Because we're locking cameras on. If you're shooting in the middle of the screen, you're going to have auto aiming. With that said, I mean, it can be done though. Right, but I mean, pretty simple. We have a very simple movement. This could be extended to bring in jumping and rolls and dive rolls and stuff pretty easily. And then we have this style of rotate, which has the lock on. And then we have our slightly camera offset thing. The other style of rotate, like this one's based on looking at the direction of the input. The other option, and I'll just show you that real quick. Like, I won't build out the whole thing. Like, most of it would be the same. The only difference is this smooth look at direction wouldn't be based on the movement input. We would transform direction. We want the forward direction of the camera. We'll just put that in move input. And then we would look at, so I have to move input. Right, so now it doesn't have the lock. any of the lock on or stuff, but you'll see it reacts much different, right? Because now we're looking to wherever the camera is facing, right? Where the other one you're not. Like if you're standing still, you could look one direction and move the other direction. Where this one like, well, you still technically could, but wherever you're going to travel to, it ends up becoming like you're aiming, right? Like that's kind of how you turn now. And then these are just strafes, right? Which has a bit more of a feel of the shooter side of it compared to the Souls-like. But it is one variation of that system is to not base it on the movement input for the direction, is to base it on the camera's forward direction. But anyways, that's probably pretty good, I think. Solid little camera system, Souls-like, and we'll go talk to you later.